Good
We're
morning.
excited to be here, and we have a very special guest with us today. We have Billy Mitchell with us, who is a retired Fort Worth. I was going to say firefighter and Fort Worth at the same time, and that wasn't even the right word.
That doesn't even work. Yes.
A retired Fort Worth police officer, and continues to do some amazing consulting work with them for their peer support team. I'm going to let him introduce more about himself in just a minute. But really quickly, we are Readiness Group. We are a training and development company who works a lot with high stress environments like first responders, military, and medical teachers, all of that good stuff, helping them build resilient communities and taking care of each other so they can in turn take care of our communities. My name is Dr. Kelly Guidry. I have my doctorate in counseling and counselor education. And I just love the work that we get to do. And I'm going to let the other two introduce themselves. You want to go, Brenda?
I'll go ahead and go. Thanks, Cal. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Brenda Tillman. I'm a trauma therapist. I work with first responders, with military, with teachers, with medical personnel in processing very challenging situations. I'm an EMDR solution-focused therapist and have been doing this for a very, very long time. So I'm so excited to get Billy Mitchell's perspective. We do a lot of work in the CISM area, which is, of course, that downstream, how do we handle critical incidents? And so I'm so excited today to get Billy's perspective on this environment, on the police world and the first responder world, and how it's impacting those individuals in terms of getting through really challenging times, bad calls, challenging things.
Yeah. How about you, Billy? Come, let us know who you are.
Okay. As Dr. Guidry said, my name is Billy Mitchell. I'm a retired 30-year veteran of the Fort Worth Police Department. I spent 4 years in patrol, spent a couple years undercover, 12 years as a school resource officer, and the last 13 years of my career, I was the peer support coordinator for the police department. Also, during that time, I overlapped as a hostage negotiator, which was quite a challenge. Also, right now, I still teach critical incident stress management. I'm a certified critical incident stress management instructor, and I'm also the peer support consultant for a company called Responder Health, which helps first responders throughout the nation. It sort of acts as a safety net to one extent to help people keep people from falling through the cracks. It's sort of like it's similar to an EAP program, but it actually sits beside it, sort of complements their EAP program. So I'm doing all those things and enjoying retirement. I just went on a 3-day fishing trip in the Gulf and fish, and that's good. So I'm trying to enjoy life as best I can.
That's beautiful.
That's awesome. What a fun thing. Okay, well, today we're talking about the mastering, we're calling it mastering the suck it up phase. So this is kind of that in the moment stuff. I'm in the midst of chaos, right? Which after any critical incident, a lot of times we experience chaos, and how we start to maybe come down or bring that kind of red, we use red and green, so that red to green reset of the brain, so that I can now logically think through maybe what I need to do with what just happened. So for you, Billy, what do you think, or why is this an important topic to the concept of resiliency and well-being and maybe post-traumatic growth?
Okay. Well, it's funny. As first responders, and obviously, like I said, I did that for 30 years. But as a first responder, it's imperative that we master the suck it up phase because we are constantly thrown in situations that can have the potential to overwhelm a person's resiliency, overwhelm their ability to handle these sort of situations. So we have to, however, the job still has to be done, whether it's a shooting, which doesn't happen as often as people think, or it's a horrendous situation in which people have been injured, perhaps rape victims, assault victims, car crashes, and the like. we have to work through it regardless of the circumstances because that's our job. And so, yeah, it's important that we find ways to master the suck it up factor in emergency mental health. Now, obviously, individuals who aren't emergency workers, they don't have to do it on a day-to-day basis like first responders have to, generally speaking, anyways. However, it's important that each person develops that skill within themselves because, as Jordan Peterson likes to talk about, there are times when things are going well. However, there are going to be a lot of times when things aren't going well, and we still have to make it through. We still have to provide for our families. We still have to do the things that we have to do in order to make it through the day. So, yeah, whether we be a first responder, where you'll see the stuff on a day-to-day basis, or just a normal civilian. I call them normal because things that we deal with. A lot of people say, "I can't believe you do what you do." Well, it may be because we're just geared a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, we still have, we're still humans, and we still have to deal with the crises that as they come, and deal with them in a way that will benefit society.
Yeah. Love that. And Billy, we think about the concept of when we talk about resilience, a lot of times we'll get the pushback from the aspect of, oh, that suck it up phase. We've got to stop that. We've got to stop expecting people just to suck it up. So now we're pushing the element of the suck it up, just as you said, the suck it up phase has to happen because you got to we don't want our first responders showing up on the job and going, oh, no, now's not the right time, right? So there is a suck it up phase to say we've got to do the job, just as you said. And our philosophy is there's suck it up and then what? And the problem is in the past, and I want to see if you agree with this, the problem is that in the past, we've left off the and then what? Because people have just sucked it up. They've just pushed it down. They've just stuffed it down, walked the other way and thought to themselves, well, you know what, if you can't handle this might not be the right job for you or whatever it might be. So what is your thought on that? Suck it up, then what?
Okay, well, the neat thing about the times we're living in now, one of the benefits, look, I as I said before, I spent 30 years as a Fort Worth police officer. As a result, and as a benefit of that, I've been able to see how our department handles, and I still say our department because I'm still the peer support consultant on the team. I'm still active on the team. But the difference is, one of the things I've seen is our department handles things in a way that is generally beneficial to the officers. I'm not going to name any other departments, but the thing is, I've seen certain departments that don't handle things in a compassionate way for their police officers. Look, we had Fort Worth PD in the area, in the DFW area. This was the only department that I'm aware of, that had a full-time peer support coordinator. In other words, the city of Fort Worth thought it was so important to take care of the mental health of its officers that they actually paid for a full-time position as a peer support coordinator, so that we can respond 24/7 to perturbations associated with the job that we're doing. So whether it be marriage issues or a shooting that occurs at 2:37 in the morning, and for some reason it's always 2:37 or 3:37.
Yes, it always is.
Can't happen at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
But the thing is, we're readily available 24/7 so that we can help those individuals. And also, we were able to put on mandatory classes on ethics, which help. And ethics is a huge part of resiliency. If you're doing things the right way, and you're doing things the right things at the right time, you're going to have less stress. You're going to feel better about what you do. And also, we were able to put on a mandatory alcohol awareness and stress management course that was given literally from the chief down. And that's something that our peer support team was able to put together and put forth. So it's important that these departments understand the need for critical incident stress management. It's good to see that a lot of these departments are doing that. I know that Grapevine, there's a Christina O'Rear with Grapevine that's very active, and she's training a lot of individuals within her sphere of influence in critical incident stress management. Larry Lowe and Richardson, who's taught every supervisor. In fact, that's what I was doing when I left the department. Was I was teaching every supervisor critical incident stress management from the chief down. But a lot of departments are actually doing the things that they need to do to take care of the resiliency of their troops. But I also know that there are other departments that haven't embraced it so much, and we're just trying to I guess wade through the waters to get those departments on board more, so that they can make their people more resilient.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about this concept of, I'm in the suck it up phase, right? And we know that it's important. We got to be able to do that, because we've got to be able to function in the roles that we're in. And I love what you said. It doesn't matter if you're a first responder. We all go through those times where our lives feel chaotic. And in the moment, what am I do? Do I spin out, or do I find something that's going to reground me, right? So for you, do you have something that you do that helps you navigate that suck it up phase when you find yourself facing that?
Okay. Well, it's funny. It's sort of funny. When I became peer support coordinator, one of the things that I started doing was a lot of reading, because unfortunately I'm not a doctor of psychology or anything like that. So I did a lot of reading, and it just so happened I was going through a divorce when I was reading the book On Killing by Dave Grossman. Yeah. And it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. But anyways, that's a joke.
No, it is. I'm killing and on combat. I know what you mean. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But in that book, one of the things he talked about was tactical breathing. Okay. Which civilians know as relaxation breathing, which the rest of the world knows as relaxation breathing, but because we're macho men, we're police.
We'll call it tactical.
Mainly police or soldiers. We call it tactical.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And one of the things he points out is that you can bring your heart rate down and give you a feeling of calm if you practice tactical breathing. And one of the things that I began doing, because I had a lot of anxiety at that time, was, hey, I said, you know what? I've got nothing to lose, and I can try this tactical breathing thing. And it works. Relaxation breathing for most people works. I've even dealt with individuals who had just been officers who've just been in shootings, sitting in their cars that were having a hard time, that were hyperventilating, and I got them to calm down with a bottle. I call it the bottle of water trick. I mean, getting them to drink half that bottle of water as quickly as they can. That helps control their breathing, and then do the tactical breathing with them, and it gets them to a point at which they can adaptively function. At least every time I've tried it so far, it's worked. So that's one of the things that I personally use. I mean, I remember when I was first doing presentations. I mean, large presentations. I mean, like I said, that alcohol awareness and stress management presentation I put it together primarily myself, and so I was the one to give it to the whole department. And, I was nervous, and people didn't realize I was in the hallway doing tactical breathing as I was saying hello to people coming in. I was able to do that because I had practiced it before, and to get my heart rate down, to give me a feeling of calm. So when I went in the room, I was fine. So that's one of the things that I use, tactical breathing, relaxation breathing, to get me out of that state of crisis, or feeling of crisis. Another thing police officers often do, unfortunately, it can be looked at as, and firefighters will, it can be looked at as they're being insensitive, but we use humor to get ourselves out of that feeling, because if we can find something to laugh at, even in terrible times, we can. It helps us cope with the situation, and people will look at it and say, "Oh, those guys are being callous." And no, they're trying to survive. They're trying to get through the situation the best way they know how, without breaking down. Because you know what? The fact of the matter is, on occasions, after the situation is over, we do break down. We do cry. We pierce our skin. We will bleed. Okay.
Yes.
And that's what but to get through the situation, we've got to use whatever we can to get through it. Also, one more thing, spiritual. One of the things that Dr. George Everly of ICISF talks about is the need for a spiritual life of some type. And one of the reasons he says this is because that way we can cast our cares upon that higher power.
Yeah.
Romans, and I used to teach men's Sunday school class at Wedgwood Baptist Church, and I'm still a member there, and I still attend every Sunday. One of the things that I've learned, and one of the verses I cling to is Romans 8:28 that says, "And we know that all things work together for the good of those that love God, for those who are called according to His purpose." And what that means to me, and I can tell you a firsthand experience, I got burned. About 10% of my body about 4 years ago, and I can see, I can breathe. I had skin hanging off of me, but
Wow.
I remember saying, "Thank you, Lord," because I can thank Him because this wasn't. I didn't break my leg. I could still see. I could breathe. I could still function, and I drove myself to the hospital.
Wow.
And when my mom saw me in the emergency room, I said, "Hey, Mom, all things work together for the good of those that love God, for those who are called according to His purposes." I said, "I know you believe that." She said, "Yeah, of course I believe that." I said, "Well, this is just a thing, and God's going to use it for my good." So it's important that you have some type of spiritual life so that something you can fall back on. And these, the tactical breathing, the sometimes humor, the spiritual life, that component. These are things that I use personally, and I use them about every day in order to deal with the situations that come up in life, because there are going to be a lot of hard times. Celebrate the great times. Like I said, I went fishing the other day, caught a 70-pound amberjack.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Those are the good times. I mean, and there are a lot of good times, but there are a lot of bad times also. And you've got to master the suck it up phase, because if you don't, it will has the potential to destroy you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Billy, do you use fishing do you consider that as one of your resiliency tools as well?
Yeah, it's funny you ask that. I ask a lot of people, "What do you do for stress relief?"
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say fishing. I say, "Okay, well, when was the last time you went fishing?" "Oh, it was 3 or 4 months ago." I said, "That's not a
Can you
stress
imagine?
management tool. That's recreation every once in a while."
Yeah.
I would like to say that I live a block and a half from Lake Weatherford. Okay, I mean, so I live close enough, so I should go fishing often, but I don't. So I go every few months, maybe. So it's always good to get away, like a vacation.
Yeah.
But I don't consider that a normal part of my stress management regimen. I mean, I've got, I mean, mindfulness meditation. That's one of the other things that I do. I'll sometimes go out on my deck, and I've got over 50 trees on my property, and I will listen to the sounds. I will hear the leaves rustling. I will stare at a tree, then stare at a branch, and then stare at a cluster, and then stare at a leaf, and be in the moment. That right there, just mindfulness meditation. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. But that right there is also a part of my stress management regimen. I mean, that's fishing. Yeah, it's great if you go fishing every day or every other day. You go golfing every day or every other day, or I mean, it's a normal part of your stress management regimen. However, that's funny. That's one of the things I ask a lot of people. What do you do for stress management? I'll go fishing.
Yeah, I get the same answer. Yeah, I go fishing with a buddy,
Yeah.
and it's just a great thing to do. Kel, do we have time for me to ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay, so Billy, why do you think that the CISM process gets a bad rap sometimes? And I ask that because, to be honest with you, police officers are predominantly the ones that, if we're going to get pushback, that's predominantly the group that will get, "No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to sit and we don't want to, come together in a group. We got this," all of that. Why do you think that is?
Well, one of the things that Everly and Mitchell talk about is that people associate critical incident risk management with just debriefings. Okay.
Yes.
And if a debriefing is not used the right way, it's useless. I can tell you this.
Love that.
When I first became peer support coordinator, I wasn't sure. I really wasn't very sure about the efficacy of critical incident stress management, whether it actually worked. I mean, this is before I learned it and taught it. And I'm telling you the God's honest truth. I really wasn't sure.
Yeah. Me too.
However, when I saw lives changed as a result of what I've done, of what we're doing in the briefings and the fusing, I remember there was a situation in which, it was, unfortunately, a Bridgeport officer lost his life from a fleeing felon, and we did a debriefing of the officers, and that went well. It went really well, but we got called back a couple of days later, and they said, "Hey, could you debrief the wives and the dispatchers?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wives and dispatchers. Well, it's a very small department, and everyone was very, very closely knit. When they heard that, when somebody heard through the grapevine that, hey, one of our officers lost their lives, every wife on the police department was in panic mode.
Wow.
And the dispatchers, they all knew each other. It was a very small, tight-knit group. Well, so they were all put in a fight or flight situation. They were all in shock because they thought it was their husband. And even if it wasn't their husband, they knew the guy. The guy was over their house. They had him at picnics. It was a small, like, again, a family type of environment for that police department and dispatchers. We went back and we did a critical incident stress debriefing like a day and a half later after we did the one for the responders. And this is Saturday morning. I'm cutting the grass. We did it on a Friday, Saturday morning, and I get a phone call, and I answer my phone 24/7 during that time because I was a negotiator and peer support person. And it was the husband of one of those dispatchers. And he said, "Are you the one that did that meeting the other day with my wife? It was a briefing." I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "Well, I want to invite you back up here, and I want to buy you and your family dinner." He said, "Because I don't know what y'all did during that meeting, but I've got my wife back." And that's one of those situations in which it brings up strong emotions in me even now. He says, "I've got my wife back." And just to see the changes it's made, and that's just one of many examples where I have actually seen critical incident stress management make a huge difference in the lives of it. I mean, plus the fact that there's that assisting individuals in crisis, that's great. That's gold. But the thing is, when you can see lives change through debriefings and diffusings, and so there are numerous other ones I could talk about. We don't have time, but that's what made me understand the beauty of it. So a lot of departments have issues with critical incident stress management is because they don't really fully understand what it is. They don't understand that it's not just debriefings. It's a combination of different components that come together to help people through crises. And one of the reasons I think that I'm a decent instructor in this is because I believe in it. I know it works. I've seen it work. And I want the students in the classes that I teach to fully understand the impact of it and to fully let them understand that, hey, look, this works. Yeah, we've got to sell it to mainly police, firefighters. They're a close family, and so they firefighters when they're together 3 days a week, they can't go home and just drink off all the stress. They have to work together, and they get to see the results of all of these things. The police officers may as well be lone wolves. Yeah. After we do our job, we go home to our spouse, or if anybody's there, and we may drink, we may have other maladaptive coping mechanisms. But the thing is, I think that's the main reason. We're sort of loners. we understand that we've got to get through this, and we're the macho men and women of the world, and we've got to fix everybody else's problems. We're afraid to show a chink in our own armor that we might have issues, and we do bleed.
Love that. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because we see it so often that it's used inappropriately, or whatever tool or tactic they use is not done well. And I tell you, if CISM is used well and appropriately and done as it's supposed to be, it is a wonderful tool in the toolkit. It's especially for that downstream critical incident. Let's come together as a group. We can support each other as a group, or the one-on-ones. I mean, it's absolutely perfect for being able to not have someone fall through those cracks. So it's wonderful to talk to an instructor who gets that and who does it the right way, because that is so important to this being something that we can use effectively.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's awesome. I want to go back and just hit on some of the things that you talked about to kind of summarize for us too. So kind of those in the moment strategies, which I think were so awesome. And I want to say something, because I hope everyone listening to this heard Billy say he uses them every day. In my role as the counselor side of that, when I teach people this, I often tell them, this is not I'm going to just do it. It's a crawl, walk, run. And if you're not practicing it, you're probably not going to use it. So remember that piece. He uses it every day. So the tactical breathing piece, the humor, the spirituality, and the mindfulness meditation. I love the example you gave there, how you went from broad to small and just soaking in nature. You're doing more than just meditation in that moment, Billy, and you probably don't even realize it, right? But the intention behind experiencing positive emotion there, the ability to be where your feet are and be in the moment, I think is such a beautiful thing. So
yeah,
I so appreciate you sharing all of that with us. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'd just like to say it's an honor that you'd call me on this platform to speak. I think that building resiliency through crisis management through relaxation techniques is extremely important. And like you said a little while ago, it's important that you practice a little bit every day if you can. I mean, just a little bit of mindfulness, just a little bit goes a long ways. And I strongly, as far as law enforcement goes, there's Dr. Kevin Gilmartin, who's got a book, Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement, which is a extremely good book to read to help primarily police officers make it through their career successfully. And the two books, one of the things that Dr. Tillman talked about on combat, and when I talked about on killing, those by Dave Grossman are extremely valuable books. And they really, really helped me understand the need for critical incident stress management. I mean, he doesn't speak to it exactly like that, but it once you have an idea of what critical incident stress management is, and you read his books, you will fully understand the benefit of the process.
Yeah. Very true. So before Kel signs us off here, I just want to ask you, it sounds like you just have a beautiful picture of how all of this works, resiliency for not only police officers, but for first responders, dispatchers, family members, all of those. And so we'd love to have you back sometime to talk about a concept of every person a peer, because for us, peer teams are invaluable. But man, we have switched over to this every person a peer, know how to have that intentional conversation. We'd love to hear your perspective on that at some point.
Well, I'd be more than happy to come back and touch on that.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you, Billy, for being here and taking the time out of your day. We so appreciate you and all the work that you've done in Fort Worth. I'm just
Waco and everywhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
It's a real honor, and thank you for the time.
Thanks, Billy.